And boom, the big red button's been pushed. Welcome back, everybody, to the Natives in America podcast. With me, as always, is Sky Antone. Sound out, buddy.
What's up? Hey, what's up? How you guys doing today?
Yeah.
Tonight, or whatever time of day it is when you're listening to this.
It's Mr. Nasty time.
Hey, but, what's good? What's poppin'?
Shit, you know. Man, I've been loving the weather. It was kind of dry today, but like past the other night, it was like whiting out outside my house. Like I was out there and the rain was coming in from the sideways direction, and it started blowing so hard, like you can't, like the lights around our house were just whiting out. Like there was so much rain, it was kind of nice. Yeah.
Yeah, now I've been seeing a lot of turtles on the road.
Really?
Yeah, I must have seen like maybe 4 in the past month.
Damn, four in a month.
Yeah, I mean,
that's
maybe not. I think one day, not one day, but like 1 week, I saw like 2, and then
that's huge.
There's one this morning.
Yeah, okay.
Which is crazy because if I can, I'll pull over and try to just make sure it gets across the road good. Like,
yeah.
But sometimes that's not always possible, or if you're in a tight area and you can't just turn around.
Yeah.
And this morning was kind of scary because I saw a few cars just like drive completely over it, but you know.
Damn.
But yeah, that kind of scares me. So I was concerned about the turtles, but it's kind of like rare to see them too. So
yeah.
I don't know if that has. I'm pretty sure it does have to do with the weather, but you know, everything's so green, you know?
Yeah.
It's probably just, you know.
Sky Antone, turtle lover. Enthusiast of the turtles.
Yeah.
Reptile / amphibian. What's a turtle? A turtle's a reptile, right?
Yeah, I think it is.
Like I said on your Instagram, if you want to shout that out right now, go for it.
What is my Instagram? Stories from my stomach. If you want to follow me, you can.
There you go, people.
But I did post that picture.
Yeah.
Posted a few pictures of the turtle, but.
Well, I saw the one, and you look like you're, you know, center field, end of the game, about to kick a field goal, or I guess it'd be punting because you're holding the ball, and it looks like you're about to punt it across the road.
Yeah, that wasn't the idea, but when you said that, I was like,
it does kind of look like it.
I was gonna, kick it down the field.
Going for range here. We're just
football season, full effect, man. Football season too is. I mean, I'm not a big football fan, but I do appreciate everybody else that does. Yeah. Like, is a big fan, and people that represent their team, and I like that. I like that stuff, man. So it's kind of cool to everybody busting out their jerseys and talking about the games. So
I saw. We seem to have a lot of Raiders fans out here on the Raiders. The Raiders Yeah, my cousin posted some pictures, or somebody did. I think it was my cousin on Facebook, and I'm pretty sure they got him like some memorabilia, maybe even a jersey. I don't think I've ever seen him in the jersey, so it must be new. He had a Raiders jersey, so I was smiling all big. I was like, the Raiders.
Yeah, their stadium looks pretty smooth. You know, I wouldn't mind just going and check out a game there. You know. Maybe not rock a Raiders jersey, but at least just go check out the facility.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, this is tight. I'm pretty sure they have casinos.
I was gonna say, did they already move to Nevada? They're the team that moved, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm 99% sure.
I'm not sure the die-hard California fans are too happy about that.
I don't know.
Oakland, baby.
I mean, the team's always moved around, and I'm pretty sure they get over it.
You guys will get over it. Just wear someone else's jersey.
Another team will come and take the spot of that team. Don't kill Sky said it. Don't kill me. Did you check out any of the Olympics?
I've been getting highlights off of CNN. Like I do the notifications, and which is part of what we're going to talk about tonight. But to answer your question, I've been following like the headlines, and I've kind of been curious about what's going on with Simone Biles. Like there was some sort of documentary she was in, like right before the Olympics kicked off. I don't know if it was new so much as it was released right before the Olympics, but it was when I was seeing it for the first time, and she was like I know she's big time. You know, I know she's big time. You look at her body, and she's like swole like a champion. Oh, you know, most Olympians are, and I guess all of them are, and I could tell she was getting burned out. And it's easy to forget, like when they're world-class athletes, it's easy to forget that they're just children. You know, like they're freaking gold medalist, legendary competitors in the Olympics, and they're like just turned 20. You know, like I think I don't want to name out ages because I'm not even sure, but like part of this documentary I was watching, it was about the whole gymnastics team, and they're all like fighting to get back in shape, like after COVID. It might have been on Netflix. I think that's what I was watching there. And it just looked like Simone Biles' mind wasn't on the game, wasn't on the ball. Like I'm sure she could compete. I'm sure she could win. I'm sure she could take whatever she wanted. But I could see, and I felt this way in myself, as I could see she was burned out. Just kind of over it. Like, all right, I already did my time, and I'm ready to be a teenager now. Or, you know, she never got to be a teenager because she was being a world-class athlete.
Oh yeah.
So, you know, that's that sort of stuff. Like, it's almost like people who go hard in education. Like doctors, they'll say doctors. They wanted to be doctors from the get-go. They had to get all the good grades. Then they go to college and they do their college thing, maybe get a bachelor's, and then they start medical education. You know, I'm totally blowing this what they call it, but anyway, they go to med school, and that's, you know, easily another 4 to 8 years. And, you know, that whole time, they're so focused, so hard up that they don't get to be kids. They don't get to be, you know, fall down drunk college kids. So when they finally become doctors, they're kind of still childish, still innocent, still inexperienced with the world, you know, the way things work.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say, all right, I want a partied out doctor taking care of me, but I do want one that can make the hard decisions and not be, blown away by the choice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they can handle the pressure.
Yeah. That's the argument of, like, experience over credentials. So
yeah.
Somebody could have all the highest credentials, but be scared to make decisions versus somebody that just lived enough through the experience time and just attained all this knowledge to where, hey, I can make those decisions because I've pretty much been putting up with it. Or this is kind of where I've been. But yeah, so why are we
here?
Yeah, why have you brought me here? I think because I think a good segue into what we're talking about is this is a
credentials,
but this is like I guess like diving into college versus having just a job to support yourself and the jobs available and jobs that you can get without a degree or but like border patrol, like people, that's a job available, and it's like this was kind of where you were gonna come in and
that's where I'm supposed to jump in.
Spice it up, but
I don't know. I'm not feeling your transition there, bro. Where's he going with this? I'm watching the clock, and we're already 12 minutes in, and we have not said a damn thing. Except, we haven't said a damn thing about Border Patrol. I don't know what we're gonna call it yet, but I want to talk about the Border Patrol, the U.S. Border Patrol. What do they call it? U.S. Customs and Border Patrol.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get into it, but I want to talk about. I believe it was a CNN report that I read. I think it was either today or yesterday. I can't keep the days separate nowadays. So I can't give you all the titles of the people who were putting in. They were. It was the article was kicked off about. I was trying to look it up online so I could read you specifically word for word, but I'm not finding it. Basically, there's a group of people out there that they're a law firm, and they're involved in politics, and they're involved in protecting the rights and civil liberties of immigrants. And I believe they are they're not based here in America. I don't think. I got the impression that they were normally. I think it said they were mentioning Sudan, and so Africa, I believe. I could be totally wrong. I'm sorry, Bashka, if you're out there listening. My geography / social studies teacher. So this law firm, they are filing petitions and filing suits for discovery, which basically just means they want all the information they can get that's available. And I'm sure some has been destroyed, but they were trying to file a petition to get discovery with the United States Customs and Border Patrol. What do we call them? A branch? A government entity? Let's call them a government entity. So So they're filing a petition to get real life figures on what they're doing with, like statistics and figures on the people that they have captive, the people they have in prison, the immigrants that are coming through the Mexican border, and specifically what they were talking about is during the Trump administration. They were using, I'll say they were using fear tactics, which I think is a very quick and easy political scheme, maybe a ploy, if you will, to use fear-mongering and you know, their own interpretation of the word of the law and you know, all the I don't want to say amendments, but the bills that get passed. People tend during times of crisis like the pandemic, they get certain things passed, and I think Trump got a lot of these things passed forward, and him and his administration. And what caught my eye about this article was the main point, the main information they were seeking out was information about pregnant women and their children. So the way things work, citizenship, is if you're born on this land, in this country, the child is automatically an American citizen. Okay?
Oh.
Now, there were and are probably pregnant women in custody in all these internment camps or whatever you want to call them. They're imprisoned by the U.S. Customs Border Patrol. And some of them are giving birth while in custody. And during the administration of Trump, they started reading this letter of the law about, I believe what it was they could adjudicate, or maybe that's not the right word, they could speed up the process of deportation for immigrants, claiming that they were doing it in the best interest of the United States health, the United States citizens' health, and the health of the immigrants. So what they were doing was speeding up the process of deportation for pregnant women who had just given birth. And what they were doing was these women, they'd be in custody, they'd go into labor, they would have their babies, and then shortly after recovering and coming out of the hospital, they'd automatically be deported and basically just dropped in the streets. You know, once they were dropped off, they're, you know, Mexico's problem. So basically, you know, a woman with a child that's supposed to become a United States citizen, they're being dumped back into Mexico, oftentimes with no place to go. And this group that I guess the whole article is mainly about, damn it, I wish I had the name of them right now. It was a quick article on CNN. It probably came out yesterday or the day before. Hey, and they're basically trying to find out the figures. They were trying to figure out how many people has this happened to, how many babies are there, how many mothers, how many children. They were trying to get information that normally isn't available unless it's asked for. And a lot of this stuff's covered up or, you know, kind of lost in the weeds. So that just caught my attention. It was something that just really feels dishonest. And, you know, the fact that these kids normally, under normal circumstances, would automatically be American citizens, and I believe their parents and extended family members have kind of like a way to stay because of the child. You know, maybe they get an opportunity, maybe not. Like I hear, it's extremely difficult to get citizenship besides being born here. But like they were, and maybe that's why they got here in the first place. Maybe, I don't know. you know, that sounds like the greatest shot you could give a kid is like, hey, I'm going to take them to America before they're born, and when they're born, they're citizens and they're there. You know, devil may care what happens to me. So during this whole pandemic, they were getting away with dumping these people back into Mexico. You know, with nothing but, and it specifically said in the article, with nothing but the clothes they had on their back. Boom, you have a baby. Days later, you're out, and boom, you're deported. So, you know, and then they're left to fend for themselves in Mexico, which, you know, right now, as some of us know, some of us don't, things are really bad down there right now. So, it's basically a trick to cancel citizenship. So these kids, they wind up being undocumented to Mexico and undocumented to the United States, and they become just kind of lost in the wind. Hey,
thrown back.
Yeah. So for me, I guess the reason I brought this up was there's this huge feeling of deception, this huge feeling of disheartening carelessness for humanity, like this. Bending of the rules to get something accomplished, and also misappropriating, misinterpreting the letter of the law, and they're basically using a crisis like the pandemic, you know, this crisis state we're in. They're using it to push forward basically illegal action. So I'm sure there are people out there that will go, oh, well, you know, screw them. They're not citizens. They're immigrants. They don't belong here. All that. Like, I don't even want to go down that road, because the saying that always comes out, you're all immigrants. And if you know, it's like, all right, we're okay, but not them. That's a dirty, dark path that I don't think anybody should want to go down, because that's the type of stuff that leads to genocide. So that's a lot of heavy stuff to think about.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, in my mind, right away I'm just like, fucking Border Patrol. Here we go again. Or, of course they did. That was my thought right away. Of course they're doing this. Of course he did. Of course they are doing this. And of course, the immigrants, the children, the mothers, they're the ones taking the fall. They're the ones, you know, getting left in the wind. I think what's worse is, like, all right, say the baby was born in America any other time, or maybe in an opportune time where they get citizenship. Boom, they're documented, they're a citizen. If they never came here, say they were born in Mexico, boom, they'd be documented, they're a citizen of Mexico. Great, fine, no problem. There's nothing wrong with that, but what's happening here is they're being undocumented here, undocumented there, no citizenship anywhere, and they become like wards of the state, wards of God knows what. So it's like, you know, it happens all the time in the news. These things happen, and people are just kind of left to float in the breeze. And the U.S. Border Patrol, U.S. Customs and Border Patrol, the USBP, are part of it. You know, their mothers being taken away from their children, children are taken away from their parents, separating them and then just losing them in the weeds. And why? Like, what for? Like, it makes people uncomfortable? So I'm curious. So that's where I'm going with this. This was just an article. I wish I could give you guys like links and all that, but like I can't even re-find it myself on my phone. But it's there, and it just caught my attention. I was like, of course. You know, with everything going on right now in Afghanistan and the weather across the world, like flash flooding, there's all this like horrible stuff going on. And now this is getting revealed or it's been revealed and nobody's aware of it, whatever it is, there's always something going on.
Yeah.
And in my mind, it's kind of an endless story with Border Patrol. There's this, we're familiar with it ourselves. It's not just, Mexicans dealing with them. We're us, the Tano Alto, and anybody that's, not the proper color are going to have to deal with it. Like they're in the crosshairs. And if it can happen in one group, it can happen to another. And it's been happening to us forever.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it. Let's talk about Border Patrol. Really, like, I am curious what you think about what I just presented here. But wherever you want to pick off, I'm handing the ball to you here, the talking stick. So let's start with Border Patrol. What do you think? What's your immediate thought when I say Border Patrol to you?
They're almost the pink elephant in the room. that I don't want to talk about, or sometimes they're there when I don't want them there. And
yeah.
I try to justify it to where, okay, that's their job and they're doing what they're told, but then it still feels forced. It's not anything authentic, or this was our decision. This was the people's decision, or this was the nation's decision to have these government vehicles and structures, and that was never. I don't think anyone signed off on that. I think it was just thrown on us to where I try not to have negative feelings, but then I hear something.
Yeah.
And then I have close friends that I have had really violent experiences and even put in dangerous situations where it was not even necessary.
Yeah.
So I'm not singling out anyone, but it's just kind of hard to weed out or say there's such a unit, a government unit, that it's kind of like my feelings towards them is more the negative than the positive, and that's not where I want it to be. But yeah, that's just where it's at. Because even before we're recording, I was saying I don't want to be a hatred guy, but I kind of hate these guys, sometimes.
Yeah.
So, just kind of knowing I guess they're almost the puppets, and the strings are the higher ups behind them, but it just sometimes like that, hearing stories of families being separated, and and women just kind of thrown off into a dangerous situation.
Yeah.
I think the line was kind of like everybody was trying to get here, so if they're here, they're here. I mean, I think that's kind of, I see it to where it's like, if you wanted to come here, and you made it here, well, you're here now.
Yeah.
But it just seems like the government can take that away, and it just like we could have been born on the other side of the, and things would have been way different.
Yeah, one of the final land purchases, or I'll say a land grab, that finalized the borders of the United States, split our homeland in half. Our traditional stomping grounds, our traditional lands.
Yeah.
Half the tribes in Mexico, and they're considered and treated like they're Mexican nationals. Some get health care here on the res, and some get squat, depending on who they know and how they get over here. I try to give the benefit of the doubt. I want to be like, hey, these guys are just doing their job. But there have just been so many instances in my personal experience, so many, like, in all the years I've been here, Border Patrol has been here the whole time too. And their number, they're like, you can't go anywhere now without seeing them. See that white and green truck, the white truck with the green stripe. They're on our roads. They're here. They're in our face. They're on our land. They're tearing up our roads. And like, whenever I hear people start crying about immigration in other states, like in northern states, the East Coast, the West Coast, they're all like, oh, build that wall. They're more than happy to join in on that and start chanting that crap, but the wall's not being built in their backyard. It's right here on this land where we have to see it.
Yeah.
They're tearing through our graveyards. Our historical graveyards where, warriors and families were laid to rest, and they're getting bulldozed and dynamited and moved.
Yeah. I mean, even though you think about it in a traditional sense, where, like in the old stories, like the plants and everything was in harmony and communications. Like we work with the land to see it just kind of swept up and cleaned up for this. Metal fence. It's just kind of
monstrosity.
It's kind of a waste. Yeah.
That's a huge part of it. Is everybody is calling for this wall, and I still think even though it's built most of the way, or it's already been torn through here so many times, they're building a wall on top of an old wall. And when people are yelling for their justice and they want to build that wall, they don't realize how pointless it is to build that wall. And what the truth behind it is, it's a money grab. All these contractors jumped at the opportunity to make government dollars. They would happily tear through the land, this land that they don't belong to, they don't know. They're tearing through. It sounds like you're cocking a gun over there. Rolling a revolver. They're collecting money they're getting government contracts, and they're getting paid to destroy this place. And then when we, who the people that live here, have a problem with it, they like to beat us up, push us around, and get away with shit that you wouldn't get away with anywhere else. But because we're kind of behind closed doors, we're kind of off in the distance. We're not really thought of. We're not mainstream. They get away with it all the time, again and again. It's happening up at these pipelines. There's people getting pushed around by basically mercenaries, and I do like that it's not just brown people out there protesting. I like that because it doesn't just affect us.
Yeah.
And I think what makes me the most sick to my stomach about the whole thing is that it's pointless. That wall isn't going to stop nobody. I've heard it said several times by different entities saying that the amount of money the U.S. is throwing at this fence and the border, it's 10 times, the cartels are spending 10 times as much money, whole volumes more money to get what their product over here. And the reason they even have these routes is because we want the drugs. And I'm not saying the natives right here, I mean, I'm sure we do, but I'm saying, like, the United States wants drugs. And these guys are filling that need. And they're going to continue to fill it. There's more money going into drugs than there is into Border Patrol. But it's like, alright, I'm going to kick you out. So, like, when all these people start screaming, build that wall, keep those fuckers out of here, they're not going to. It's not going to. And all this money, like, you wanna say, hey, pour all this money into this, do what we ask, stop these people. And they're like, oh yeah, we'll take all this money and stop them with this wall full of holes. This wall is really an image. It's not stopping anything. And I mean, at the same time, the same people are going, hey, build that wall. They're going, why the fuck do we have potholes in our roads? Why the hell isn't our schools underfunded? Why are our teachers not getting paid? Why are their police being overrun? Why are police so pissed off that they're not making enough money to be treated the way they get treated? It's like, well, guess where you're sending all this money that could be doing something about that? You're setting it on this waste of a wall that's not stopping nobody. And as long as we have the need for drugs and want, like, that shit's gonna come through, and they're gonna do it one way or another. And to build that wall is a waste of taxpayer money, and it's a waste of beautiful, untouched land. That's like not. It's not untouched because there's bodies there, there's people, there's history. But I'm saying it's pristine, beautiful land. Like, pristine land is a commodity, and it's starting to come up short. Where, like, undeveloped land is hard to come by these days, and it's getting lesser and lesser, and it's because of development like this. And what's worse about this is, like I said, it's pointless. It's not stopping nobody.
Yeah.
As long as the demand's there, they're going to supply it. And if it's not them, it's going to be somebody else. So it's like, and at the same time, people talk all this shit about the citizens, the Mexicans. They say, oh, they're all bad. It's like, no. Just like here, we're not all bad. They're people. And everybody's just trying to get a better life. So some aren't, of course some aren't, but hell, we got bad shit here too. And it's like, shit, every Mexican person that I've known on a personal level are some hard-working motherfuckers, some family-oriented people. They care about their family, and they go hard and deep for their family. And I've always respected that, and they're always hard workers. You know, and shit, a lot of our economy is dependent on their labor. So I mean, it's like, it's a double-edged sword. You want to stop them, or do you want to be able to buy cheap vegetables? You know, you want to eat, you want to make a fucking salad. Think about what you're calling for. So, and it's much deeper than making a salad and vegetables and all that. But I'm saying it all goes hand in hand. And it's pointless to build this wall. It's pointless to throw all this money away at this problem that's not going to go away. It will not go away. And you know, everybody's like, oh, well, let's get rid of all the druggies. It's like, no. What drug addicts are people that are hurting, people that are having trouble, people that don't want to exist in a world that's fucked up. And until we start working on the problems that lead to addiction, that lead to people not feeling fulfilled, like getting people jobs, you know, getting people health care, getting people the mental drugs that they need, like the actual health care that people need, that, you know, the ones that are disturbed, even just regular, you know, housewives needing what they need. Everybody needs something, and when those needs are not met, then we're kind of left in the wind. And throwing money at this fucking wall isn't going to fix that. It's a waste of money. And a lot of the people that are calling for the wall don't have to look at it, out of sight, out of mind. And in their minds, they're like, yeah, we're building that wall, we're stopping them. No, you're not. You don't live here like you do and see what we see. It's worse than ever. I can't go anywhere in this desert without seeing, you know, all the the trash that's left behind. Like it shows that there's so many more people. Like, it's so bad down there that people are coming here trying to, you know, take a shot, take a stab at it.
Yeah.
And the majority of the people here are descendants of people that were coming to try and take a shot at it, take a stab at it. They just have a different skin color. So it's very vindictive, it's very hypocritical, and it's very pointless. It's like pointless human trafficking. It's pointless human suffering. Like these internment camps, or whatever the hell you want to call them. Whatever title makes you sleep at night. Whatever you want to call it. It's the beginning. It's the likeness of genocide. When you say, oh, this person's the problem, you single them out, you dehumanize them, and then you lock them up and you take away their possessions and their freedom, and you suppress them, and you try to control them. That's the beginnings and endings of genocide. And they wouldn't want it on their children, so why would you want it on another person's?
Yeah. I think it's like kind of like turning a blind eye, because it's just sort of like, and that's the line. I hear. It's weird because I hear kids say it, but it's sad. I hear a lot of adults say it too, where they say, go back to where you came from. And really breaking that down and flipping that on whoever's saying it. It's like, are you really from here? And who's to say anyone else doesn't have the same right you have? That's why I said, like, if you made it here, then you're here, you know, learn what you gotta learn, but, you know, it's crazy because it's almost like, oh, you made it here, and suddenly you have this fairy tale life, like, someone comes here from another country, they still gotta bust ass and work because, you know, that's just life. But we these people that are like thinking the wall or Border Patrol are gonna like stop these. I don't know. It's like, again, like what you're talking about, like the racism and the hatred for, you know, for a certain people, because I don't know, you just pretty much hate them. Like, if someone's taking your job, then maybe you're not doing the job as good enough. You know, like kind of like doing like some self-reflection. Like, I think maybe the generation of Americans now are just so used to getting what they want, and suddenly it's not that easy. It's real life. Like, you know, sometimes you don't get the job because someone else is going to work harder.
Yeah.
So.
Or cheaper.
But then, yeah, I mean, I guess sort of like we were saying, like, we're kind of in the middle of it all because, you know, we're from here.
Yeah, we have to look at that wall.
So it's not like, oh yeah, well, we're just staying here temporarily, we're going to go back to our homeland. Like, this is the homeland. Like, we're trying to hold up things here, you know, and this, you know, gamut, this bigger idea of a country or land where, I don't know, we're just kind of caught up in the mix, in the drama of it all. But, the wall, what do you think, like somebody on the other side of that wall, like, what is the generalization they're saying about us? Like, do they assume everybody's for the wall and we all hate him? We all hate everybody? You know what I mean? Like, this idea of it just creates this hostile,
and it's the first thing they see.
Like, oh, you're the ones that put the wall here, you know, that I have to get over just to come. But it was funny too. It's like, thinking back on that, like, you know, you can come by boat, you can fly. like actually just walking across the border that's just one form of getting here. Like, there's so many other ways. So
tunnels that go right under that wall. It doesn't stop a damn thing.
Oh, that too. So I mean, man, like, I guess what about? I guess our affiliation to the country, like we're kind of like, I don't know, like, not to say we're on the bad side, but I think it's like we're part of the corrupt.
Yeah.
We're kind of in the middle of the corruptness of it.
We're witnesses. It's in our face. It's on our roads. It's in our neighborhoods. It's on the streets. It's them pulling us out of our cars. It's them stopping our cars. It's them accusing us, watching us, staring at us, pointing guns at us. It's a military. They're turning our safe place into a militarized zone.
Yeah, a war zone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the contradiction. Is like, you're saying a war zone. We're home.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and every time I see a new building go up, a new structure, a new station, it means they just tore out a big chunk of my homeland. This place that I used to see as a kid that was beautiful, and now it's been scraped clean and replaced with a monstrosity that might not ever go away. Probably won't. That's just a kid.
I don't know. I mean, when I saw that big compound out there,
yeah.
I just sort of like they ain't taking this down.
No.
I don't see this, like, pack it up, boys, let's go. I don't see that. I don't feel that.
Yeah.
It's pretty.
Well, you give somebody power, they don't want to give it up. And they actually want more. I remember when it was just a trailer. Just like a mobile mini. Maybe a vehicle parked out there. Maybe it was just a hut where they would have their lunch, somewhere to sit down between their shift, during their shift. Now it's a parking station and a ranch and a holding station and parking lot, fucking buildings, structures that are more and more permanent. And we're just we're watching it grow.
I mean, it looks like a little, the start of a little town. I mean,
yeah.
I don't mean to say it like that, but it just from a distance, the lights.
Should give it a long enough timeline, and it will.
It's a little bit, yeah.
I mean, that's where it's headed. Like there's been a slow and steady progression with no turning back. There hasn't been a single, slowed, it may have slowed from time to time, but it has not stopped and it has not gone back. They didn't take away. They added. They always adding.
Oh, yeah. That's, I mean, I think that's kind of where this is not going to go away, maybe the tension. I mean, what could happen to where suddenly they could still be here and the tension's not there, I don't know if anything can happen like that. Massive to where harmony, you're doing your job, cool. We're here, they're living our life, it's not. It doesn't happen like that.
Well, the thing is, we've been here the whole time.
Yeah.
Watching, experiencing, getting handled, having our elders get pulled out of cars and laid in the dirt. Not even laid, but tossed in the dirt, held down in the dirt.
Yeah.
I've been thrown down a couple times. And so what I'm getting at is we've been here the whole time. And you don't forget something like that. You just keep if you keep score, it's like, all right, that's another human atrocity. Chalk it up. It's like when I read that article, I was like, yeah. I'm sure some people in the world read it and went, oh my God, I can't believe it. And I'm sitting here like, what else is new? Wonderful, they're doing it again. They're getting deeper and shittier and more less human. Just like they're treating the people that they're supposed to be in charge of. And what I'm saying is, we've been here the whole time. A lot of these dudes get transferred out. They come here, they do a stint, and they leave. And then the next group comes. And you would think, okay, that should guarantee safety. That should guarantee that, not one horrible person can stay and continue their reign of terror. There should be new people, new blood, and it should improve, or at the very least, not be awful all the time. But they just pick up where the last ones left off. I've been treated by, and I never really, I don't recognize any of them. It's not like, hey, it's you again. No, it's a new shitty person every time. And the fucked up thing is they're also shitty. And I'm sure some people are like, you're generalizing. You're making it up in your head. And it's like, no, I've experienced it time and time again. And there's stories, there's my experiences, there's what I see, there's how I've been treated.
Someone not from this area can have a pretty positive idea of what Border Patrol is.
Yes.
And us to have this animosity or...
Yeah.
It's weird. I mean, it's like you don't get it.
Yeah. Well, you just my sister, she went to I want to say AIAI, American, or what is it? American Indian Art Institute in New Mexico. And she did a short story class, and she wrote, like, I think they were doing screenplays, and she wrote a screenplay of this, like, horrible figure. He was a Border Patrol agent, and he was aggressive, tore into this woman's home without her permission, basically assaults her, mentally, physically, and verbally abuses her, and then just gets away, just goes off. And everybody in her class, these New Mexicans, these people in New Mexico, were horrified. They're like, where did you get this kind of thinking? Border Patrol's not like that. They're not like that. What is this fictional character you've come up with here? We don't like your story because it's painting the Border Patrol in this horrible light. And when she told us that, all of us, we just looked at each other as like, who the fuck have they been dealing with in New Mexico? Because this has been our life.
Yeah.
She wrote what she knew and painted this picture of probably several experiences that she's had with Border Patrol. These, not even experiences, but these collisions, these incidents of terrorism that these people have caused to us. And everybody in her class was in disbelief. They're like, I don't like this character. This is this fictional character you've created.
I was like, but it's realistic.
Yeah. No, I read it and I got angry and I was like, of course they would. Of course he would. He's Border Patrol.
Yeah.
And they were like, Border Patrol doesn't do that. Where are you coming up with this crazy story? And when she told us that, me and my mom, we looked at each other and were like, where the fuck are these guys living? Like, what fictional land are they living in? Because this is our reality on a daily basis. And it was mind-blowing that just right there, the neighboring state, people over there had a different opinion.
Yeah.
And it's like that around the U.S., especially the people. Especially the people that are talking about a place they don't know. They're talking about this far off, distant land, dealing with citizens they know nothing about.
Yeah.
and they're persecuting. They're generalizing. The generalizers are the people that just don't know.
Are they comfortable in their bubble?
Yes. Or outside ours. They're outside looking in. Going, who are these horrible fictional characters you speak of?
Yeah. I mean, I think about it now where some people don't get questioned, like, where you from, like, whether to state your citizenship, like it just, you're in the greatest country ever, you know, you don't have to worry. And then us, we're trying to get into the spot too, but we gotta have all the paperwork. We gotta have all the right words to say that are not even in our language, like the American English. I mean, so it's just sort of. I mean, I hated to use that. Remember we talked about that, the stigma, where people say we're living in two worlds, like, talking about it like that, like it does feel like that, where it's almost like border patrol, or the government is protecting this. I don't know, what are they protecting? Is it because the riches that have been established now, like anyone else, or if you fall into this category, you gotta, you know, you can't get it, we're gonna make it harder for you to get, or we're gonna harass you, and make you even not even want to, you know, even be a part of this. You know, it's like we, you know, jump through hoops just to be there, and
risking life and limb.
Yeah. So I mean, and we. Not to say, again, like, we're not the exception, but, like, we're very fortunate to be born in this country and this, to where we're citizens, but, like, not really in the sense of history. Like, we aren't other citizens. And so it's just kind of, I don't know. Well, again, like secondary citizens, but yet, I don't know, is the hatred always going to be there? Or, I feel like we're talking about a lot of different things about, like, you know, what it is to be proud to be Native, and yet, when we go to Tucson and we gotta cross that border, or we gotta cross that checkpoint, it's almost like we gotta put all that aside and say we're U.S. citizens, you know, like...
Yeah, you gotta claim it every day.
We can't just be ourselves.
You gotta defend yourself. Defend your reason for being where you are.
Yeah.
I would like to see the reaction on people's faces that called for this wall if they had to do that every day. If they had armed guards standing at the edge of their property questioning why they're there with suspicion and accusation. going, what are you doing here? Are you part of this party or not? And if you're not, we're going to take everything you have. We're going to seize you. We're going to seize your assets. We're going to seize your freedom. Go ask Grandma to help you. So yeah, the law says, the law says you're innocent until proven guilty. And I know it's old hat to say it, but damn it, we show up every day guilty without knowing it, guilty without any due process, guilty by first sight, guilty at first sight. They peek in our windows, see the skin color, and become alert. And they go, all right, I've gone through this checkpoint again and again and again, and if I'm with my mom, she's German and Irish, and you can look at her and go, oh, this woman's white, she's an American, or she's the descendant of a Cherokee princess. They take one look at her and they wave us through. As long as I'm not behind the wheel, of course. But they wave us right through. They just look at us, and they come and they just wave us through. And I could go through in the same vehicle, and if I'm behind the wheel, I'm suspect. They got to ask a few more questions.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like much. I may be speaking, out there, and it's falling on deaf ears because they're like, oh, that's nothing. But when it's every day, when it's every single time you go to Tucson, it's in our face, it's in our minds, it's in our hearts. We remember everything. And my guard goes up the second I get there because I'm waiting for the next awful thing to happen.
Yeah. Well, I think that's kind of the maybe the disconnect on our experiences versus somebody that is not from this part of the country, but we have more negative experiences than positive.
Yes.
With Border Patrol. Border patrolling, I don't know. I mean, they're not really in the community, they're not really, they're not really out there. It just kind of seems like we're at their disposal. We have to answer to them, and they shouldn't feel that way, but yet, if we want to go to Tucson, we gotta follow the dialogue. We can't go off and say something else. We'll probably. I think it's causes more problems. At least my experiences were. If you don't want to say you're a citizen, then there's a problem. And yet, this is also the country where people always say, what is it? Is it the First Amendment? Or, like freedom of speech where you can say whatever or do whatever, but like I can't say I'm going out there and I don't think they'll accept that. I think they'll accept you gotta say you're a U.S. citizen.
I've said that and almost got yanked out of my car.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a little what do you call that? Like dehumanizing.
Yeah.
Well, you can't say that if you're gonna come over here. It's very strange because that's a lot of power that those border patrol kind of think they're handling, or that they are handling, but
yeah.
Is it? I don't know. It's almost like you blame them or you blame whoever hired them.
Well, you made me think of a point that I kind of wanted to say was it makes saying you're an American kind of dirty. Like we're citizens. We're part of this big picture.
Yeah.
We're in it. We're not going anywhere, and we're part of it. Like a lot of our relatives, our family members, like my cousins, my aunts, my uncles, my dad, my mom. Like on both sides, all my relatives have been soldiers. I'm patriotic. I swear it up and down. I'm patriotic. And what's kind of jacked is, the same horns they ring out were the same horns that ring out at Wounded Knee. The cavalry. And it's always been like this kind of dark dual citizenship kind of. I'm proud, and at the same time, it's kind of dirty when I pull up to that thing, and it's shaped by that imagery of persecution. The whole secondary citizen kind of feel that we get, and that we're treated with. It's not just in our minds; it's in front of us. We're seeing it. We're experiencing it, and it's tough. It's tough to be part of that. We're on a double-edged sword here, and we're just kind of riding the blade's edge. It's like we're part of the picture. We've been bought into the United States as citizens and as defenders of this land. Like I would defend this land. If people were hurting in Tucson, I'd go defend them. We're part of it. We're bought in.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we're kind of overlooked, pushed aside, somewhat forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
The majority of the time, the attention we get is negative.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, there's not a clear, realistic idea. Like somebody will just assume we're living in teepees,
Yeah.
Because, that's all the time that they put into learning about, people that are from here, or the tribes, I don't know, the school, this is where the school, are schools doing this on purpose, or is it up to this individual to want to learn about our culture, or to learn about, what it is to feel what we feel. But I mean, it just seems like there's no direct connection. There's still a disconnect of what it means, or again, how it looks in this current time. Because some people will assume stupid shit because they don't know, they weren't paying attention, or I mean, I don't know,
Hey, give me a second here, hold on.
Yeah, it's I don't know, I mean, I don't want to put it on non-native people, oh, you gotta learn about native people. I don't know everything about. I don't know. It's just there's two perceptions of this country, and it feels like to be native, we get a lot of negative experiences just to be associated with the country, and we're still trying to just trying to exist, just still trying to thrive, and I think that tension with Border Patrol and the government is always going to be there.
Yeah.
If they're always going to be there, because I mean, the Border Patrol would be like, alright, hey, we did a job, we're done, we're not gonna be on the res anymore. It's that oh, you guys are cool again, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just seems like I don't know, I know they're here to do a job. Yeah. But at the expense of almost our well-being, because we gotta almost mentally not belittle ourselves, but kind of be like, oh yeah, go ahead, just chill over here, turn up that mind over ride your motorcycles through the sacred desert, do all that shit. I don't know, just reminds me of this J. Cole lyric where he's talking about letting someone stay at your house, and then they get too comfortable and they start eating up all your groceries.
Yeah.
And
Jesus. Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what it is, where it's someone says, hey, can I stay at your house? And then they just pretty much just camp there.
Yeah.
And they never leave, or overstay their welcome, I think.
Yeah, they're wearing their T-shirt and wiping their hands.
yeah, for real, right? They have the remote, and they're controlling what's on.
Yeah. Got their feet up on your table. Tracking mud through your house.
Yeah. So
that's a great analogy. Jesus.
Nailed
it.
Yeah. So
Let me ask you this.
I don't know what I'm saying.
Could these people do their job without the abuse? Because what it seems like is they get to do the abuse for free. You know, it's like, hey, that's a plus of this job. Like, it just seems like that. It's just like, all right, they have a job to do, and regardless of who's here, they're going to be here on the border, you know, quote unquote, defending the nation from this threat. And could they do that job without the abuse of us and the people that they're become in charge of? These children, these women, these men, these like men, women, and children in camps getting mentally, physically, and verbally abused. Could they do that without the abuse?
I mean, I want to say yeah, but then I also can say no too, because again, like, everybody wants to be here. I guess you can't take that out of the equation of the land here. People are trying to get here.
Yeah.
Regardless if someone says they're criminals or if they're, you know, hardworking people, it's like they're trying to get here. And whatever they gotta do to get here, they do. And it's very similar to, you know, the beginning of, you know, what they call this country. You know, so it just seems a lot of, like, hypocritical and stuff, but, like, but they're trying to restore this, not restore, but just keeping people out because they don't have the paperwork or they're not citizens or whatever. You know, I think, I don't know, it's almost like it's already mean-spirited that it's almost like it has to be accompanied with the abuse. Like kicking somebody out, but like not doing it gently. I mean, I don't know, I don't know, I guess we're assuming that there's a lot of abuse, but it's like, it's kind of hard to, like, not say that there's abuse, because there probably is, like, because we've seen it, we hear it, we've witnessed it, like I said, like, I have friends that have been, like, you know, have to, like, defend themselves because, you know, they're being put in a situation where this guy has power, and suddenly he thinks that, and I think that's kind of too where, you know, maybe there is some good ones in the bunch, but like one motherfucker can ruin it and fuck it up. And so it's just kind of like, you're always going to be the abuser.
Yeah.
Because of what you're doing.
Yeah.
To already be put in that position of you can't be here or go back to where you came from or get the hell out of here, like, that's already shit that you're doing. So it's kind of hard for me to assume you're gently, pretty kindly pushing these guys out of the country. Like, nah, I don't think the abuse will stop. I mean, I think, like what you're saying, like, yeah, can it be done peacefully to where, hey, you don't got citizenship, go back to your country, and we'll make it a comfortable transition. Like, nah, it's not like that. And I don't know, like, as dark as or as good as we claim to be, or at least how we portray the American whatever, it's like, well, we're doing a lot of dirty stuff. The government and
Well, I kind of think about so say you let's go to a generalization that everybody understands. Your actions speak louder than words. So there's I'm thinking imagery here. Like let's think about what their job is. You know, the simplest form is to protect the citizens, quell the influx of drugs and whatever, you know, people, and they say keep the border safe, right?
Yeah.
Well, for outsiders listening to us, and they're probably going, "Oh, you whiny people, you know, you don't know suffering or whatever." Like, but think about the imagery that we see. They're between us and Tucson. They're not like the border. Anywhere else, they're on the border. Here, they're not on the border. They're between us and Tucson. They're drawing the line around us. I mean, they're all up and in here, but they set up station outside of us. They're not on the border set up like that.
Yeah.
They're set up keeping us out. If we want to go to town and enjoy this freedom everybody talks about, you know, if we want to go up there and, you know, let our freak flag fly, we have to go through them. And like you said earlier, if we don't answer correctly, it's time to pay the piper. You know, like it's. Think about that imagery. Like they're set up on the outside, keeping us out.
Yeah, like, you know, like imagine if they had the checkpoint like between 3 Points and Tucson. Like, I don't think.
Oh, nobody would stand for it out there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it will be a different, and it wouldn't be. I'm pretty sure it wouldn't be a native person causing ruckus. It will be somebody non-native getting pissed off because Border Patrol is stopping them every time they want to go into the city. And they gotta say, I'm a U.S. citizen. Like,
yeah. With a gun standing by.
And
a K9 sniffing their car.
Like, how dare they do that? But like, this has been a reality for now. I mean, imagine somebody that goes or works in Tucson and they live on the res, or vice versa, and they gotta go back to the city. Like, they're constantly saying U.S. citizen, I'm a U.S. citizen, U.S. citizen. It's just kind of this, man, what's that?
Yeah, well, like I said, inadvertently, it starts feeling dirty. Now, it shouldn't, but it does. anybody else wants to say that, it's like, hell yeah. You know, hell yeah, I'm an American citizen. But for us, it's like, yeah, I am, believe it or not. After enough interactions, negative interactions, it just starts feeling dirty. Like you gotta wear the makeup to get past. You gotta tuck your hair in. You gotta get a little less sun. You know, you gotta speak a little clearer and enunciate. The off chance you get that one guy, and really it's not one guy. I was listening to you say, oh, it's the one bad guy. Well, I've met two in 20 years. You know, well, I'd say I've been interacting with them. I had to grow up early, so let's say 30 years. No, that's kind of cutting it. 25 years, where I'm old enough to be aware of it. You know, in 25 years, I've met two, like, I guess normal agents that may or may not have treated me like I just might be human. Like they just might know where I'm coming from. As opposed to, I'd say, hundreds of other agents, which paint the picture that I base my experience on, of this horrible, dark abuser of everyone I know, everyone in my family, and they still see me every day and look at me with suspicion. They're following us while we're driving to work, or taking my parents to the hospital, or just going to get food.
Yeah.
We're on the line. I keep an eye on them as much as they keep an eye on me, because I don't want to be caught out in the open where they can get me. Like, if I'm not careful, I could be got. Like so many people I know that got because nobody was watching. Nobody was watching the watcher. And that's kind of, they have this freedom to get away with that. And it's like, I hope that this isn't the day that I get thrown in the dirt and get a knee on my back.
Yeah.
You know, that fictional character I was talking about that everybody else around my sister saw.
Yeah.
And they were appalled. They were appalled. Oh my God. Where do you get this shit? I don't like this character because it's not like real life.
I was going to say I just lost it.
You'll find it.
The guy that thinks is taking matters into his own hands, and the guy that is, has hatred for, I don't know, going into the Border Patrol, like, are people going in assuming, I'm protecting the country. I'm gonna be the guy that's gonna be John Wayne and hold down what I gotta do and keep these guys in line. I don't know, it just seems like there's those characters where their hatred is fueling their mistreatment towards people that, really are just trying to get some McDonald's and, some groceries for the week. And you're harassing them because, you think that you have an important job. And you really don't. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think that was kind of too where, how I felt about Border Patrol, where it was like you're not even important. Like, your job is just made up. Like, you're not really doing anything. But I think that is just sort of this, my anger towards them is just kind of like, I have to be the bigger person. I have to bite my tongue.
Yeah.
Because what I really want to say is probably going to end up with me in a bad situation.
Yeah.
But I mean, how long, or what are the long-term effects of not saying what you feel? Or
so,
yeah.
I gotta share this story. I think I already shared it before, but I'm gonna do it again. Sorry if you guys heard this story already. A big like clincher for me, like another. I'm trying to give examples because I'm sure I'm still seeming like I'm generalizing. I'm sure it all sounds very made up. I used to have a girlfriend down the road, and I was walking her home one night. It was getting kind of late. It was about sunset time, and we didn't have a car. I didn't have a car back then. I was kind of young. We were young, and I was walking her home. It was probably like a 2-mile walk. Well, 2 miles there, 2 miles back. We got going. We got out there. We were almost to her house, and we were walking down the highway, and this Border Patrol showed up. It was a truck. This guy, and he drove past us. Then he slowed down. He turned around. He came up to us, and because there's no cars on the street, he pulled on the opposite, the wrong side of the road, and stuck his head out the window. He pulled his glasses down. And he's just staring at us, and he's, "Oh, what are you guys doing here? Like, you guys citizens?" And we're like, "Yeah." And then 2 more Border Patrol showed up, and they all started kind of looking at us. And I just kept like, "All right, okay." And we just started kind of walking again. Like, all right, like we stopped to talk to him. He's like, "Are you citizens?" And we're like, "Yeah." And that should have been it. That should have been it. Like I said earlier, do your job without the abuse. And the other 2 showed up. They were each in their own vehicle. They were kind of young. They were I would say they were in their 20s. Like all 3 of them, they were all dudes, and they literally started circling us with their vehicles. And I mean, I'm not saying like, oh, we were on solid ground. They were driving up onto the highway and off into the dirt, and they were circling us. And I remember thinking, I need to be really careful. And like, all I wanted was our police, the TO police. I wanted them there, because at some point I realized they might kill me and rape her. I started pulling her behind me to face them. I was pulling her behind me, and I'm like, this could be what happens. And like even now I'm getting a little choked up on it. I mean, it happened a long time ago, but it was like I was afraid for my life, and I was afraid for her life, and there was absolutely nothing I could do. There was no one around. It was just these three guys in trucks, in uniforms, circling us like sharks. And it just occurred to me, like, these are boys with toys. They're out here having a hell of a good time, and if they so choose, they could have just had their way with us. Beat me up, killed me, raped her, killed her, and it was possible in my mind because they could have gotten away with it. And they do get away with shit like that. Like it's not. They've killed people out here. They've run them over. They've shot them. They've physically abused people. Again. I'll reiterate this. It's nothing new. And in that moment, I was powerless, and it was terrifying. And at some point, they finally left. And I just let out this sigh of relief, like, what are you doing, dude? It's really loud.
I got my water.
Anyway, I was really happy when they finally left. I could finally breathe again normal, but it was still like, all right, they could come back. Like I wasn't quite safe yet, so I just hurried her home, and then whenever cars came, I got off the road. Like I didn't want to be seen, because they could come back. Like it was just this big reality check that's like, all right, this could happen, and nobody will know, or if they found out, they'd still get away with it. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
It was just, like I said, it's just another thing. Just another check mark. Like, oh yeah, they did that now. What will they come up with next? You know?
Yeah.
It was.
Well, it's kind of like again, being the bigger person, but kind of also like, man, like you're getting away with way more than you should be getting away with.
It definitely wasn't their job.
And yeah,
they were outside that. Going rogue, circling us with big ass SUVs, and we were just two kids on the side of the road. With a very iffy future. It was like I didn't know what would happen next. So I don't know, any naysayers out there, if this gets out and people are listening, it's real. And outside looking in, talking all that shit, pointing fingers, saying build that wall, whatever, it doesn't matter. There's a lot going on here, behind closed doors, out in the desert, beyond their scope of duty. And they're here, and they're digging in, and I really don't think they're going anywhere. And I think every time they get away with something, just like the police, it emboldens them. And it's not forgotten on our side. Just like all these riots that were going on, the people were fed up. It happened again and again and again and again until some spark lit the powder keg. So it's like, yeah, let's be the bigger man. Let's be the righteous people. But shit, we see how that plays out. you know, it's in the history books already how it played out. And like I said, every time you get away with something, you get emboldened to try a little more the next time.
Mm-hmm. Or you get away with stuff, you know, or what else you gotta get away with.
Yeah. So, you know, this is some heavy duty material we're covering here. This is, I want to say it's radioactive, because it's like whoever's listening to it is gonna, you know, either take it at what we're saying, the face value, or, you know, dig into their own priority, you know, their own bag of priorities and decide what they want to think.
Mm-hmm.
All I know is I've experienced it enough times to feel and to associate those colors, those uniforms, those vehicles, those people, the entire government, you know, entity with terror and abuse and fear. You know, it's and anger, like all of it, but you know, cooks down to anger. What you should have done, what you could have done, what's right and what's wrong. It really messes with yourself, with your self-respect, with your self-control, with your sense of self, with your ideologies of right and wrong. And I brought this up before. There was this article I read way back when at U of A. I was writing a paper, and I don't think the paper came out very well. But one thing I'll always remember is I read this article by some guy, and he was talking about what he called the Chains of Genocide, the links in the chain. And he just named like 5 or 6 specific steps that lead to things like the Holocaust. You know, genocide. It happens all the time. And what it comes down to is isolating people, naming them as the people to blame, taking away their property, taking away their freedom, and eventually killing them. In more ways than one.
Yeah.
And it always stuck with me, because I see it all the time. You know, you see it in the news. It's not just us. It's not, you know, just black people. It's anybody who comes in contact with authority, with power, with I don't know, totalitarianism. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it's like if you're in the way, they'll find a way to get rid of you. And really that's like the watermark, or that's the I guess definition of what was going on here. With the tribes in the U.S. It's a long history that didn't just end at some point. It's still going on.
Oh yeah.
And I remember in another class, it was about the same time. It was a humanities class, and the professor promised us that we were going to go. What we were basically doing was covering races, and we went from race to race, and he said, you better prepare yourself that for any one of these races that applies to you, this is going to hit you hard. But we basically went through the long history as the U.S. was made, as it crossed across the continent. And all the people that it affected, the people that were brought here, the people that were found here, the people that, you know, came up against this unstoppable force. This, like, and I cried, man. I didn't think I would, and they described all these things that, and I was learning at the same time. I was learning more about other tribes. I even heard our tribe come up, and I cried. It was, and I cried for the other people. You know, the Japanese, the Chinese on the railroad, the, you know, African Americans, the black people, the slaves. You know, like we, almost all of us were slaves at some point or another.
Yeah.
For this big machine, you know, and one thing that stuck with me, another thing that just kind of stuck out, like whenever I was in a history class and I was learning about some big horrible event, and when I talk about genocide, we all have to kind of go the Nazis and the Jews. That got huge attention. It caused world wars, and you know it's on the map. It'll never be forgotten. People are out there. And whenever I learned about these events, you know, it's like, okay, they give you the dates. They always give you the dates. This happened this time. And then, you know, in a different class, maybe you're learning about, I was learning about the Renaissance. You know, I was learning about Shakespeare. And I was thinking, in my mind, these two things were separate. I was like, all right, the genocide of the Jews, and on one hand, and then there was Shakespeare on the other. And then I learned that some, and me and you have talked about this, I learned that some of the plays that Shakespeare wrote were geared towards enticing people to come to the new land.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, Caliban. And, you know, an anagram for cannibal, like this. I don't even want to go into that detail, but what I'm saying is that was probably the first time that these two far apart worlds in my mind were connected by history. Suddenly they were in the same ballpark. Suddenly they were histories that were attached to each other, which I had never made a connection to. And I learned, I can't remember how they represented it, but they said in Hitler's own words, he was impressed with what the Americans did to the Native Americans, and that he was inspired to do it to the Jews. He said they did a good thing there. They were on the right path, and after that came the genocide of the Jews. Now, I don't know how much fact is in that. I don't know, you know, I'm not reading word for word, but it was the first time that our two histories were combined. You know, you always hear about this event, you hear about what happened to us, there happened this history, and who knows how much was actually told, because, you know, the conquerors write the stories. The other people's books and histories get erased on purpose, in an attempt. It's another part of genocide. You erase their ability to keep their stories and their history. You dehumanize. And it was a big eye-opener. And I'll never forget that. It was the first time that this dark history and our dark history were connected in the same time frame. And I'll never forget that. And like, and it's easy to go, oh, well, that's in the past, that's the history, but you know, these sayings, they're not just sayings to be sayings, they're sayings because they're based in truth. You, if you don't pay attention to history, you're doomed to repeat it.
Oh yeah.
And that was what I'm saying is that was an eye opener. It made that all real. It made, like, it was real, but it wasn't. It was like, okay, this happened there. There's very little connection here between me and that awfulness.
Yeah.
We have our own awfulness. They had their awfulness, but that was there and this was here. And it was a different time. It was the big part. It was a different time, I thought. Until that class made them connect. Because when we learn about history, it's usually a subject matter. It's not a timeline where you go, all of these happen on the same timeline. It's like, all right, you get this picture painted of something that's going on somewhere else. Even now, there's stuff going in Afghanistan, but that's in Afghanistan. It's not here. But no, it's happening here too. It's all happening at the same time. We're all on this planet. You know, it's not this country or that country or this Russians and Americans and Afghanistan or Afghans. I'm not saying that right. Afghanis. Anyway, what I'm saying is, like, we're all part of this, and at some point we got to figure it out. At some point, we can't forget. We can't repeat. We can't let it happen again. And, you know, it's happening. It is happening. We haven't grown out of it. It's this awful human nature that still exists. And, like, I get reminded every now and then, either the news or you know, out of personal experience, it's still, racism and hatred is alive and well. And a lot of times I feel powerless when you consider the big picture. And that's when you got to hold on to hope. It's like, I hope that those people are okay. I hope that we will be okay. I hope that the U.S. will be okay. I hope that good people don't get hurt. And it may sound crazy, but I even hope the bad people, you know, don't get hurt. I'd rather we all... I don't want to say it, but I'm going to say it. I hope we all get along, dude, but there's got to be a point, you know. I keep using that expression, but damn it.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I think too, like, when you said that, like, I always say that too, like, you know, if you don't know your history, you're bound to repeat it, but kind of going back to, like, our history, like, oh, yeah, we know it because it's important to us, but, like,
it's important we don't forget.
Non-tribal members are just, I don't know, I don't even know how to correctly say that, but just somebody that is, you know, from America and, you know, has no ties or no direct connection to any tribe can have a false image of, you know, who we are, and yet we need them to understand more than that, because, you know, I think that's where, you know, maybe that's what I'm saying, like, shit's gonna repeat itself because no one knows our history. Or I don't know. I'm not saying that's going to be something that's going to happen, but I'm just saying, like, you know, what if more, you know, people, you know, bought into, like, not the tribe, but just, like, hey, wanting to know, to learn, and actually, like, I don't know what I'm saying, but it's just, like, is it to say if you're not native that you should have some direct ties to someone that is native. Or you, I guess, learn what you need to learn and understand everything perfectly. It's like, if you don't know anybody that's native, you might not even care.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying, but
I think what you're saying is we would all be better off if we knew a little bit more about each other's cultures, and maybe then we'd understand that we're not that much different.
Mm-hmm.
There's a basic human need. There's things that we all need to survive and be comfortable and thrive. Some of us have it, some of us don't. And realizing those inequalities is the first step to understanding. And I think education for everybody of true history, not some made up like, oh, we're gonna erase the bad stuff. I want true history, the honest truth. This is what happened, no matter how gruesome, ugly, or awful it is.
Yeah.
We need to know. Everybody needs to know.
And I think that's where maybe it gets stickiest, because it's almost like the American culture, the American, it's like there's almost no accountability of all the dark shit that they've done, like, in our history. Like, it's not really, it's overcasted with this, like, triumphant, like, we're taking ownership, we're Americans, it's just all that, what is it, pride or patriotism, but it overlaps all this darkness that is also a part of the actions. And I don't think learning, I don't mean to say it like that, but it's just like learning about Native culture, like you're saying, the real truth, and it kind of discredits this perfect American, free, coming out of the, just kind of just coming out of nowhere and having this force of greatness. I don't know, it's just, if they're too hype on the American pride, then maybe it isn't such a good thing, because there's all this darkness.
Well, I think we're at the age where it's our duty to remember to teach those that are coming after us, to educate those that hate us, and to continuously, if at all, I want to say, seek justice for the wrongs, but if not that, which I think it's a lofty goal, because considering the past, how much justice there has been, considering all that, I think at the very least we should remember, so that people don't, so that the actual guilty party, there's a ton of people in America that don't hate, that don't, want to lift themselves up by stepping on other people, that don't want all natives to be killed, that don't hate Mexicans, There's all of us that just want. There's a bunch of us. No matter what our color is, we wanna live our life.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, we need to make sure that these guilty parties don't just walk away scot-free. And I don't know what I'm saying there. It sounds like some call to arms, but it's not. I'm saying we can't forget. Okay.
Yeah.
You can't forget. At some point, I hope down the line, and I expect it, and I think it'll just be a matter of a certain long enough timeline that we're going to all be intermixed with our bloods, all of us, and we'll maybe one day be, if we live that long, if we don't screw it up before we make it that far, where nobody can say, hey, I'm just native. It's like, hey, I'm here. I'm just human. Because that's all we are anymore. There's no, there's no difference. At some point, I could hope for that. And, that it may be a pipe dream. I don't know. But I would prefer, some interracial love here, some equality here. Like, this is,
yeah.
If one person wants to enjoy freedom and rights, civil rights and liberties and justice, freedom, whatever it is, the pursuit of happiness, then you gotta stand and fight for the person next to you to also enjoy those freedoms and liberties, civil rights, all that.
Yeah.
And all of us, not just natives, but all of us need to fight the people that want to destroy that, where it's not in their best interest. And I'm saying, I'm talking of peace while also saying fight, but like the adage goes, you let evil, you don't act, then evil will have its way.
Yeah.
So it's like we gotta fight for each other's. We gotta fight for equality among us all. And,
yeah, I know what you're saying.
Even saying that, in the back of my mind, I'm going, where does the fighting end? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. So it's like you can't undo what has been done, but you can do something about what's going to happen moving forward.
Yeah.
And I think that's where there's no discussion, there's no dialogue of moving forward together. It's just sort of like, us and them.
Us and them. Yeah.
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 But, I don't know, it's like, there's a part of me that's fine, I'll take us and them, but then there's this other part of me where it's like, that's not how it has to be.
Yeah. I don't want to be me and have to look over my shoulder.
Yeah.
If I'm going to have my utopia, my oasis here, I don't want to be watching the edge of it, worried somebody's going to come and try to take it.
Well,
and what does that take, you know?
Well, I mean,
all right. So we're at the 2-hour mark here.
Oh damn!
After all we've said here, we've said a lot. We've covered some serious points. It's a lot of dark. You know, a lot of dark. There's darkness out there, people. But Sky, what do you want people? Let's say your students, your younger family members. What would you want them to take from this? Would you want them to be fearful and hateful of Border Patrol and anybody that doesn't look like them? Like what would you want somebody to take from this?
I would want someone to maybe do some self-reflection of, actually knowing, where you're from, and, what you identify with, because I think that's what's on the line, when you're put into situations where you have to identify as a U.S. citizen versus something where, you're not maybe. I mean, even when you were saying it was dirty, I was like, man, it still feels not comfortable, saying sometimes, because it doesn't sound organic or natural. It's just kind of like,
it's like, please, sir, have mercy on me. I'm a citizen.
Just let me go. Just
please don't turn this into something.
Yeah. But I think it's promoting, learning about, yourself, because sometimes you do have to defend where you come from, and if you don't know that, then so easily you can follow somebody else, or be put in a situation where they use that against you, where you don't know your culture, so easily you can just be excluded. And it's not even, I don't know, it just kind of seems like, going back to the border, the boarding schools and what the goal was for that, to send Native kids there. It just seems like there's always going to be tactics to try to get you to forget who you are and where you come from, but where you come from is a very strong thing, and you have to know it, because you're kind of holding up I say a legacy, but yeah, pretty much, like even now, they're holding a legacy that that was passed on to us, and hopefully when we pass it on to whoever is after us, it's like there has to be these conversations where it's like, know who you are, because so easily you go to another place and not so much you can forget where you come from, but it's just important. I mean, I guess maybe to me, but like you know, like we were talking about the wall and just the land and everything kind of, the anticipation of everything that's gone on to where we're at now, and you know, we're just, you know, surviving, you know, doing our own thing, trying to just live, and yet in the grand scheme of things, we're also like holding up this important history, but it's not even history. That is like, you know, our grandparents, their grandparents, you know, they're connected to the land, to the Jewish, and it's like we still have that. You know, even if you're not living on the res and you live in the city or you live in another state, like, that's where you're from, and you still gotta represent that. So in order to represent that, you have to learn about it.
Yeah.
That's put in that time. And I think that's what we're saying, like, maybe if, not so much outsiders, but maybe Border Patrol, if they knew more about the land, maybe they might treat us differently. But like I said, they see a war zone, so, you know, what does that make us?
Yeah.
You know, we gotta submit to that. Oh, we're out here, that society, you know? And yet, we definitely don't feel that, so it's almost like we're lying.
Yeah.
We have to lie just to kind of fit in.
Yeah.
Like that, it's like, you know, everyone people used to say, like, you don't have to lie to kick it.
Yeah.
We're lying just to kick it, you know, and the fucking in the border, inside the border, right?
Yeah. I think about a dog. When you train a dog, you either train it with love, and I'm sure that sounds sappy, but it's a word that I'm using.
Mm.
You train a dog with love, and the dog will love everybody that comes along. If you train a dog to attack, then every person that comes along is an intruder.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you train a dog to be suspicious of everybody. That's what they're going to do. So, I want to blame these guys, and at the same time, I'm trying to understand. And when we talked about, can you do this job without the abuse, it's kind of like you put that badge on, you put that uniform on, and then you do what the people around you are doing, or the people before you did. I remember when those riots were popping off, and all those cops went through, and they were all suited to the nines, you know, head to toe in armor, and they had traditional, like, I couldn't believe it, they had those ass beating sticks, and I imagine some of them out there were like, hell yeah, I'm continuing our long, proud history of beating the shit out of people who aren't doing what we tell them to do. Now, the idea behind the police is they're there to protect us from each other's and from the dangers that you know, just simple society has. But among them were people that were like, hell yeah, I grew up watching the riots and watching people sprayed with hoses, bit by dogs, hit with tear gas canisters, and they wanted that. And
some of those cops are like excited to hurt somebody.
Yeah, well, that's what they're there for. They signed up for it. Like, I was watching this whole scene, and, like, this guy was laying on the ground, had his hands out, hands open, everything he had was laid out on the ground, and he's like, hey, don't hurt me, I'm not doing anything, I'm not resisting. And a cop just rode up and sprayed him in the face with some like, pepper spray, like, that hardcore, like, mace, and just sprayed him, and then kicked him. And then shoved him and said, get off the street. And I'm just like, and he fucking loved it. I'm sure a couple other dudes saw him do that and then wanted to use their pepper spray too. Like, I mean, I'm not trying to start a whole other conversation there, but I'm like, man, there's hate, and we got to educate each other to be aware of that, our children to be careful of that.
Yeah.
And I hope on the other side they're, trying to teach against that, when I know we're kind of militarizing our police and all that, and you get what you get from that. You get the power you wanted, and maybe the respect you wanted, and maybe it's more like fear. But at the same time, you're also feeding the hate and the anger and the separation. The distance between us is increasing. And then you get volatile outbreaks that have been happening all over the place, all over the world. So, I guess I'm saying, like one of my favorite comedians is Bill Burr. And he was joking about it, but he was making a real point. He said that we all have our own knowledge that we grow up with, and if you don't interact with everybody, you don't get some of that knowledge. Like he was saying, the lady was teaching him about being ashy, and he was joking this whole thing up, but what he was saying was, alright, if he discounted them completely, he would never have learned that, but they knew it, and then he said, we're all a piece of the larger puzzle. We all have a piece of it.
Yeah.
And if you just leave somebody out, then it'll never be complete. The big picture. So I kind of want to talk now, like just shortly. Like, damn, we're really going on here, but because there's a lot to say. But I kind of want to talk to like militants. Maybe militant natives, but just militants in general. But like I know, I've known a few militant natives, still know and love some, and they're probably saying, "Oh, you've given up." I was told by one of them that I've given up the fight, because they heard me talking like this, and I don't want to live to fight.
Yeah.
The fight was brought to us, and we've been fighting ever since.
Well, I think that's where it's like, it's not to say you're not fighting, it's like you're doing your combating in a different form.
Yeah.
And I think that's where there's that. I don't want to say where you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, because I think there's so much going on, and there's so many like problems to where this trickles down, and we're all struggling, filling in where we can. And I think that's what we talk about a lot. We're doing the stuff that we thought the adults were doing. I mean, we're doing the adult jobs that at one point we were kids seeing them do it. Now it's falling into our hands.
Yeah.
and just kind of having this dialogue where it's like, oh shit, like we're here, we want change, we want justice, but then we're also been maneuvering through this system where it's fucked up, you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes playing not so much, well, not so much like where, I think that's another thing too, is like, you know, just because I'm not protesting or I'm not outside yelling, getting upset, it doesn't mean I'm not contributing to the cause of what everyone's upset about. No, so sometimes silence is more potent than screaming.
Yeah.
And I think...
Well said. Yeah.
But then I think also too, where it's like, I'm a lover, not a fighter. Like, I'm not. I think that's where it's not. I'm not built that way. I don't know. I rather.
You're a lover. You're a lover, not a fighter. Is that what you just said?
I'll approach it in a different way, in a loving way versus.
Yeah.
Kick some ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm. It's not my style, but like, I get what you're saying. Where it's like, admitting some of these things are going on doesn't mean we're giving up. I think it's like being truthful. Like, what's going on? Like, damn. But I mean, maybe there is some truth to it. That's how I feel about the word colonization, or colonizer.
Yeah.
It's like, to call, because this is a guy on TikTok he's pretty much calling out people, calling them colonizers, and I don't know, I get freaked out because it's like, are we colonized fully? You know, to where we're just running around in the maze and we'll never figure it out, or we're able to break the download and we didn't fully get colonized. We're able to think outside of the box and figure this shit out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I guess it's like, how much of the history really weighs on us, and I guess really seeing like how valuable the important like now is versus we're still weighing all this dark shit that's happened, and it still seems like we're always at a disadvantage. Like we're up against a machine and a system that's, you know, pretty much been fucking with us this whole time. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
This is all.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot.
There's a lot, and there's more to say.
Yeah.
I think it's important that we kind of cool this off right now and say that the real point here is the self-reflection, the understanding, education, and questioning. You know, reflect on yourself of what you think you are and what you aren't, and ask yourself why. And then educate yourself on more than just your people, but other people's people and traditions and cultures. And think about the differences and the similarities between your own. And then I think it's important to question why we are, who we are, where we are, and when we are. And think about what you don't know that might be affecting how you feel about maybe one of the subjects that really gets you going. If you think about the subjects that you feel strongly about, ask why. Wonder why, and think about who has taught you that, where it comes from, good or bad, whatever it is, how you feel, whatever you feel strongly about. Think for a minute about it, maybe on a daily basis or whenever you start getting worked up. Start thinking, where is this coming from? Where am I going with this? What do I want from this? What do I expect? Who is this for? Is it for me or is it for other people? And again, self-reflect. Think. Use your brain. It's your greatest tool. And remember what's already happened. And maybe figure out a better way, or just a way not to repeat what's already been done, the horrible stuff. Take what was good and improve on that. You know, choose the type of person that you want to be in this world. The type of people you want to have around you, and how you want people to think of you now and how they'll remember you. What kind of person are you going to be? Now, we've talked a lot about this anger and hatred and pain that's gone on, and I'd like to not hold on to it, but I'm definitely not going to forget it. And I would expect somebody that's on the opposite end of this, that maybe hears this, maybe think for a moment the next time you go out and you want to be something awful, or do you want to just do your job? Think about it. Everybody who's listening, whoever's listening, even if nobody's listening, I'm glad we got to talk about it. I definitely got some stuff off my chest here. And I'm hoping that that at the very least, maybe this whole talk is not going to change the world, maybe, but it might change a few, might change the right person, might change a point of view. It might educate somebody somewhere about how they feel about me, or us, or them, or they, or I, whatever. I'm here to express myself, to talk about what I'm thinking and how I'm feeling, and I'm also hoping to create questions and self-reflection. And that's really the whole point of this. Expression and self-reflection.
Yeah.
Discussion and education. And really, if somebody wants to come on here and talk with us about their point of view, I'm open to it. That's what this is about.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. I think we should call it at that. We're at 2.5 hours here.
Yeah, call it, man.
I'm sure we could keep going.
Yeah, no,
this has been good for me on a lot of different levels. But yeah, I would like to relax now. This has been tense because I'm digging into all types of emotions, and throughout this entire talk, I've kind of been going through the ringer, feeling all of it, all at once and separately, and I would like to relax now.
Yeah, no, I mean it's all tied together, but trying to piece it together is a different.
Yeah.
It's a different thing.
Yeah. And we're only scratching the surface, really.
Yeah.
But you know, we succeeded if we got somebody somewhere to think differently, maybe, or to think outside their own bubble.
Oh yeah, I mean, even maybe just how we feel, you know, kind of.
Yeah. At the very least, I got some shit off my chest.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, we can't. It's almost like we can't be who we want to be at all times.
Yeah. And that's a shame.
But there's a price that sometimes we don't want to pay. So we'll play the be a citizen card. Yeah, I'll show you this poem another time.
You what?
Remember I had a poem?
Oh yeah, I'd like to read it. Is it on your stories from my stomach?
This is not even.
All right, well, I'd like to hear it, and maybe we'll talk about it next time.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Maybe I'll put it on there.
Okay. All right. Well, if that's it, like, everybody, thank you for listening. Sorry this was a dark one, but something had to be said. If you made it this far, thank you.
Yeah, you're true. you're true in my book.
Okay, I was like, please don't say it, Sky. Yeah, okay, yeah, you're true in Sky's book, and I appreciate, at the very least, somebody out there listening. So thank you. Thank you.
Comment.
And hopefully next week's subject will be a little lighter. Hopefully. I could go dark every time, but it's not all that enjoyable. You know, it's opening old wounds and keeping fresh ones open. And you know, it takes a toll every time we dip into that. So I'm glad we got it out. At the same time, I can't wait to get off this thing and relax. So, again, thank you for listening, everybody.
Cool.
All right, I'm going to hit that button. Peace out, everybody.
Peace.